Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating blueprint for national development. Now, we're going to be looking at civic education, but honestly, we need to completely stop thinking about it as just, some standard subject you take in school. Actually, it's the absolute bedrock of national progress, especially for a geographically unique place like the Maldives. Think about it. A nation's long-term progress depends entirely on the knowledge, the awareness, and the active participation of its citizens. So it really makes you wonder, right? How do we actually build a high-performing nation literally from the ground up? Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. What actually happens to a nation when its citizens just stop paying attention to how it runs? Like when people aren't motivated to learn or research or even understand how their own national systems work. Well, it doesn't just mean people are uninformed. It's way deeper than that. It means public trust completely erodes, service quality drops, and the very institutions that are designed to, protect and serve the public, they begin to weaken. The stakes here are absolutely incredibly high.
And the domino effect of the civic apathy, it is genuinely staggering. When we as citizens stop demanding quality, the institutions just start to slip. We start seeing declining institutional performance and these unchecked inefficiencies, mostly because, transparency completely takes a back seat. But it goes way beyond just the government. Without a strong culture of learning, our capacity to innovate just kind of slows to a crawl, and productivity stalls out. Plus, and this is crucial, a population that isn't staying informed simply cannot adapt fast enough to massive real-world threats. We're talking about climate risks, sudden economic shifts, or rapid technological change. Apathy, quite literally, leaves a nation incredibly vulnerable.
So to figure out how to reverse these trends, we've got a clear roadmap today. We're going to cover 4 steps. First, the cost of civic apathy. Second, modernizing the civil service. Third, strategies for national awareness. And finally, the integrated governance model.
All right, Section 1, the cost of civic apathy. When citizens stop demanding quality.
So here's the fundamental issue. If you don't even know what service standards you're actually entitled to, you really can't speak up when those standards aren't being met, right? And in the Maldives, this problem is uniquely geographic. Just imagine being on an outer island, miles and miles away from the central hubs. The barriers to getting basic information are immense. This unequal access to knowledge creates totally uneven expectations for public services across the different islands. Because information isn't flowing equally, it leads to much weaker civic participation in those outer areas. And that significantly reduces the capacity of local communities to just solve their own problems. It basically creates a deeply divided landscape of civic engagement.
Moving right along to Section 2, modernizing the civil service. The engine of the state.
Now, if you think of a nation as a giant vehicle, the civil service is absolutely the engine of the state. For that engine to run, it needs professional leadership, tight policy alignment, and real institutional continuity. And the people actually running that engine, they're the permanent secretaries, or PSs. Now, what's really interesting about this is that it's a title we hear thrown around all the time, but what does it actually mean? Well, they are the knowledge-driven professionals of the government. So while your elected political leaders formally endorse the big policies at the cabinet level, the PS is the one actually leading the institution. They're translating those high-level political goals into operational reality, and they're the ones building a culture of continuous learning right within their departments.
Let's walk through how this actually plays out on the ground, step by step. First, political leaders set that big picture direction by officially endorsing policies. Then, the permanent secretaries step in to translate those abstract, kind of high-level policies into concrete operational plans. Step 3, they align their staff with those national priorities. And finally, Step 4, and this is absolutely key, they don't just set it and forget it. They continuously monitor service quality and public feedback to make sure the policy is actually working for the citizens on the receiving end.
But, here's the catch. For this engine to run smoothly, the civil servants themselves need some seriously rigorous professional development. There has to be a national framework ensuring every civil servant gets very specific training. They need policy literacy so they actually understand the big picture. They absolutely need customer service training to interact properly with the public. They need digital skills development because, technology is changing so incredibly fast. And fundamentally, they need strong ethics and accountability education to maintain that public trust. It's the whole shebang.
Okay. Section 3? Strategies for national awareness, fueling the engine.
So we have the engine, but the government definitely can't do it alone. Citizen awareness is the vital fuel here, and building that awareness means blending the old school with the new school. On one hand, we absolutely need the traditional, essential pillars, things like introducing modern civic education curriculums in schools and running public service campaigns on TV, on the radio, and through the local island councils. But on the other hand, the real excitement is in the innovative approaches. We're talking about things like providing small youth innovation grants to actively spark community research, environmental monitoring, and local social innovation.
And get this, we can take these innovative tactics even further. Imagine actually gamifying your civic duty, like getting digital achievements or rewards just for reading up on local policies or officially reporting a pothole. How cool is that? Now, combine that with public service scorecards. These are systems that publish actual visible performance ratings for hospitals, schools, local councils, and ministries. This level of transparency is a real game changer because it actively motivates citizens to monitor service quality. Pair all of that with island-level learning hubs offering digital literacy right inside the community, and boom, you've created a highly engaged, super aware public.
Let's move to Section 4, the integrated governance model, putting it all together.
All right, this is where we put all the pieces of the giant puzzle together and look at the big picture of a fully functioning state. If you take away anything from this explainer, let it be this singular, powerful truth. Education and awareness are the absolute foundation of a capable nation. Every single strategy we've talked about today, from training civil servants to publishing those hospital scorecards, it all relies entirely on a population that is informed enough to care and educated enough to act.
And this brilliantly illustrates how every single piece of society really has to work together in total harmony. Look at how it connects. Citizens learn and monitor services, which directly drive strong accountability. The civil service applies those policies, which results in efficient delivery. Permanent secretaries lead their institutions professionally, ensuring consistent quality. Political leaders endorse policies to provide clear direction. And finally, schools and communities build the awareness that creates an informed population. It's a complete ecosystem. If even one of these components fails to do their part, the entire model just breaks down.
The source material actually sums this up perfectly, and it's just so true. It says, together, these elements create a nation where citizens and institutions work in alignment toward long-term national development. That absolutely hits the nail on the head. National progress for the Maldives, or honestly any country for that matter, demands a population that actively questions and contributes, working right alongside a civil service that implements professionally.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. You've seen exactly how the engine is built, and you know now that your awareness is the essential fuel. So, how will you use your awareness to monitor services and participate in your local governance? The tools are definitely out there, the structures are in place, but a truly high-performing nation ultimately starts with you paying attention. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember, keep asking questions.